Okay, welcome back. We're on page 61 talking about the adaptive software design. And the idea is if you don't really know what the customer wants, you basically have no choice but to go towards the goal. And then as you discover what they want, you have to be able to change the goal. And so you can imagine the amount of uncertainty in here is pretty high. So there's less structure to, an application project like that. And it's going to have to be more flexible. One of the weird part about that is the best example of using this adaptive stuff is a process called Agile. And we'll talk about that again in just a minute. But Agile basically is designed so that you work in these little tight sprints and you reevaluate where you are and you move on. And it is not at all inconceivable that you decide, okay, we're going to do this. And then halfway through the project, you go, that was a dumb idea. We're going to do this instead. So it is not at all inconceivable in normal scenarios where you get halfway through a project and you say, screw it, we're going to dump that and start over. But in Agile, that is a possibility. That you could be pointing in one direction and just determine that's a dumb idea, we need to start over. Okay, so you can imagine how the budget complex, how this would get kind of complex with time constraints and budget constraints. All right. So which is better? The adaptive approach or the predictive approach? Well, it kind of sort of depends. Right. Are the requirements well known? Are you on a tight timeline or a tight budget? Then you're probably going to do the predictive thing. The predictive thing is going to give you better documentation, better scheduling, better management, better cost control. Not necessarily a better product, but excellent controls, good documentation, good controls, good costs. The product, maybe. But if you're really, really, really after an excellent product, and you don't really care how long it takes to get there or how much it costs to get there, well, then you're probably going to go with the adaptive approach. The adaptive approach typically provides better product. That's just the way it is. Okay, so continuing on. Page 62, they talk about the management reviews. Each one of these little sections, you're probably going to, if I go back, there's a go and no-go point, basically each one of these things. At the concept, are we going to do this? And then after development, are we really going to do this? You're going to spend money, and then after implementation, okay, are we done? There's these go and no-go points, or what they call exit points. So there's an exit point in each one of these little phases that basically says, yeah, we're going to continue. That's what those management reviews are all about. The next thing to talk about is the nature of IT projects. IT projects are not the same as building a house. Okay, I'll admit the vast majority of the project management skills are the same, but the projects themselves are obviously a lot different. First of all, they're very diverse. You're building a house, you kind of know what construction, features you're going to need, but in an IT project, you might have to hire somebody with linguistic skills and all sorts of weird stuff that you never even thought of before. So very diverse. And probably very short viability window. Software projects typically have a lifespan of 2 or 3 years if it's just a commercial product. Maybe if it's a corporate project, maybe 10 years. But you're probably not running on a 30-year-old payroll system. Okay? But are you living in a 30-year-old house? Yeah. You drive across a 30-year-old bridge? Yeah. But software projects don't do that. Software projects are very, very short duration. For example, why do IT books, if you go to the bookstore and you find a book on IT, let's say you found a book on Microsoft Word, it's going to be kind of expensive. Why is that? Because in 2 years they're going to come up with a new version of Microsoft Word and that book's going to be useless. So they have to get their money in a hurry, right? Okay, so the short viability window. Okay, so that's the nature, the differences in how this stuff works. The next thing you talk about is the characteristics of team members on page 64. So you're going to have many different skill sets. You're going to have programmers, and programmers do certain things. And you're going to need graphical arts people that knows how to do, fantastic graphics and, motion picture kinds of stuff. And, you're going to have the hard sciences, STEM kind of sciences, plus the fuzzy stuff. You're going to need, people who understand how people think and art and all those other kinds of things. You need both business and technical skills. If you forget the human skills, you're going to be, if all you just do is have a bunch of nerds in a room, then you're going to need a page character from Scorpion TV show to kind of help out. You're going to need some soft skills. Okay, cool. Moving along. On page 65, they talk about the diverse technologies. The problem is we kind of sort of speak a different language. For example, if I use the word domain to a database person, it means something. If I said that to a Windows administrator, it means something completely different. I mean, two terms used in IT mean completely different things depending on who you're talking to. So yeah, there's some issues with what languages we speak. Okay, last thing to talk about is the trends on page 65. So, globalization, that's always a big trend. If you're a small company in the middle of the U.S., you probably don't need to. If you're in the boot repair business, you're probably not going to be getting, boots shipped, to you from China to have the boots repaired. You're a small mom and pop operation. You don't have to deal with it. But everyone else has to deal with globalization issues, such as, does my tech support people only talk English? What about time zones? Am I open when they're open, or am I closed when they're open? Those kinds of things. There's even a thing called time zone bullying. And it has to do with, okay, I've got a team. Let's say that half of my developers are in Germany and half my developers are in California. And somebody decides when we're going to have our teleconference meetings. And so typically wherever the home office is, if the home office is in California, well, by God, they're going to do it on California time, and you guys over there are just going to have to, dang it, I hate it when I get interrupted. You guys in Germany are just going to have to suck it up. Time zone bullying. You're just going to meet on our time. Okay. Trust. You have to be able to recognize and respect the differences in the organizations, right? Kind of makes sense. Common work practices. Do you have common work practices? And if so, if you don't, well, maybe you need some. And then are we all using the same tools, right? The same, like I'm using, let's say a software project, and I'm using Visual Studio 2015, but you're using Visual Studio 2017. Like, we need to be on the same sheet of music, don't we? Outsourcing. This is a politically sensitive issue, particularly with, presidential, candidates talking about all these immigration style issues. A lot of people just look at the core competency of their organization. Like, I do boot repair for a living, okay? I'm going to hire out somebody to do my webpage. I am not going to take one of my boot repair people and turn them into a webmaster. That just doesn't make any sense, right? Okay. So obviously, it gets a little more complicated than that. But a lot of people don't contract out just for cost. That's kind of a myth. In the scenario of the boot repair guy, yes, it would be cheaper to send that guy off to learn how to do web pages. Yeah, it'd probably be cheaper than to contract it out, but they just don't want it. It's like, I don't want to do that. I'm in the boot repair business. That's what I want to do. My grandfather, my father, we all did boot repair. I don't want to do web pages. Okay, cool. Virtual teams. Okay, if you're working in a virtual team, it could be one of those scenarios where I'm borrowing somebody, or it could be where I'm working from home, those kinds of things. There are some cool advantages. One is, if I'm borrowing somebody, they're going to be sitting at their own desk while they're assigned to me. So I don't have to have office space. I don't have to have a desk for them to sit at or a computer. They're going to be using their own desk and their own computer. It's highly responsive to changes. If I need two more, I just ask for two more, and okay, when I'm done, okay, now I need two less, and you just dial it back down. Okay, that makes sense. Yes, you can have better scenario. You could have a work-at-home thing. Then you have to worry about, work-life balance. But I'll leave you to that. There is a problem, though. It's not all perfect in virtual teams. There's a great deal of isolation. You're not going to hear everything that's going on. You're going to have communication. There's not communication equivalency. Yes, you're going to have official communication. Yes, you're going to have emails and things that are posted. But that's not the only type of communication that happens. Come on. You know how it is. The boss walks down the hall and somebody says, "Say, boss, tell me, what did this mean?" And the guy says, "Disregard that. That didn't make any sense." You go, "Okay, good." So that one guy understands what this directive was and how it applied to them. But everyone else is kind of, if you're in a virtual team and you didn't have access, then you don't know. Okay. Agile, again, talking about Agile. So one more time. It's perfectly okay to start a project where you do not have a clue where you're going to end up. And Agile is perfect for that. Where the requirements are unknown or constantly changing. And it is okay to have a mid-course correction. You're smack dab and you're pointing in this direction, and then halfway through you go, "Oh, jeez, we made a horrible mistake," and just change course. Boop, and now you're heading some other direction. It does produce a better end product. Cool. Now, I'll admit there's an awful lot of hype associated with Agile. And I'm going to start with the Agile Manifesto. A couple of Agile practitioners put together this cool thing. It says, we value individuals and interactions over processes and tools. The working product over some comprehensive documentation. Customer collaboration over contract negotiation. And responding to change over following a plan. And the idea is that, we put more emphasis on the getting things done rather than following the dang rules. Okay. Now, again, here's an alternate view of that. And this is a tweet. I don't know who this guy is. I probably should know. But here we go. Individuals' interactions over processes and tools. He goes, "Yay! I don't have to follow those stupid processes anymore." Working software over comprehensive documentation. Woo! Dump the documentation. I love this Agile. Customer collaboration over contract negotiations. I'm done when I'm done, and I never have to say when. Woohoo! Responding to change over following a plan. No plans, no project managers, no architects. Where do I sign up? Okay, obviously this is a little tongue-in-cheek, but the point is that Agile has been hyped. It's almost like a religion. There's an Agile work users group in Austin, and it's like going to church. I mean, they're all praising Agile. I mean, it is. You probably need to go to one just to see how crazy these people are. The next thing to talk about is Scrum. It's an Agile-like scenario, and the idea is somebody makes a backlog of all the work that needs to be done. You figure out how much you're going to do, and then you work on these little sprints of a couple weeks at a time to chew off just that one little piece. And then when you're done with that little sprint, you actually have a finished part. Now maybe you're not complete, but you've got that one potentially complete part, and then you do it over and over and over and over and again. So it's just another technique. It's an Agile technique that basically works in sprints. Okay, so the last thing to talk about is the PMI. By the way, this book is really, really, it's almost reads like an advertisement for the Project Management Institute, but who cares? PMI basically has a separate one of those body of knowledge books, the PMBOK, right? And they have an Agile guide. They have an entire guide that you can, and if you're a member of PMI, you can download this guide for free. And they're talking about, they also have an Agile certified practitioner. They're the ones that actually help put together the tests to produce, certified Agile people. Okay. All right, we have reached the end of this chapter. Thank goodness, huh? And I'll see you guys again at the next chapter.